And the arbitration talk the last week, where he talked about, as if he didn't, he chose arbitration, like, and he
I
was
know.
blaming, seemingly blaming Bruins management for taking him to arbitration,
How
which is not
dare
really
you,
what
Don
happened.
Sweeney? How
Yeah.
dare you? And welcome into the Bruins beat on CLNS Media. My name is Evan Marinofsky, and today I am joined by the great Mark Divver. Mark, what is up?
Same old, Evan. Just getting ready for another weekend of hockey. Uh, it's going to be cold. Cold in those. I won't be in any prep school rinks this weekend, but if you are, you got to dress warm. You got to be prepared.
That's the thing. And it's funny. Like, I remember last year I went to Seb's with just like a Patagonia coat, which is not thick at all. It's very thin. And
Yeah.
I went to a game with that on. And by the third period, my whole body was just like, tense, just so cold. And one of the parents is like, have you never been in a hockey rink before? And I was like, that's a great point. That's a great point. Point noted. So I think I'll be at Dexter Friday today,
Yeah.
and then I'll be at St. Mark's on Saturday. Dexter's pretty cold, but it has a nice warm area, and St. Mark's can get cold, and it also has a little lobby area that you can get warm in. So
Yeah. You can hide in
those
there if it gets too cold.
that's the thing. I remember Jeff Cox always used to say to me, make sure you go to those areas between periods or you're going to be bumming if you're there for more than
Yeah.
one game, which is often. So, yeah, I mean, it's always freezing and outside it's gross. It is. This is like the time of year where I'm like, maybe I should go start Florida Hockey Journal. Like this is
Yeah.
the time of year where I'm like, this is when I don't want to be here. It's gray out. The ground is just white with ice and snow, and it's miserable.
My brother is here from California, and he said to me yesterday, "I don't know how you lived it. I don't know how you live this way."
Hockey gets us through it, honestly. Like
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
is the one thing that's the North Star of like, all right, well, there's a hockey game.
Yeah.
At least there will be that. So I agree with you. I think it's just been it's only been the last couple of days too. It hasn't even
Yeah.
been like the whole winter. We're sitting here bitching,
Right.
and
It was
it's
like 50 degrees last week.
exactly. Like we're that's exactly it. But you know what? Even a couple days, but it does make spring more worthwhile, right? Like once
Yeah.
baseball and playoff hockey season comes around, it's like, oh, this is what we went through it for, to
Yes.
make this
Yep.
better. So there is that light at the end of the tunnel. For those listeners who are not in the Northeast, I guess you're lucky right now because you get the nice weather. You're like, what are they talking about? Anyways, do you have any? I know you said you're going to Providence, Alaska Friday. Any other big games you're going to this weekend?
I'm going to, well, Saturday is the big Providence, Alaska game because it's the 50th anniversary celebration of the opening of Schneider Arena.
Oh wow.
So uh, there's going to be a lot of alums there, players through the years. It should be fun. I don't think Lou Lamoriello's not going to be there. Brian Burke's not going to be there. Ron Wilson's not going to be there. But a lot of members of the 2015 National Championship game are going to be there. So it's going to be fun. It's going to be fun.
Is Achari going to be there?
I don't believe so. I
Because
don't
he's
believe
out
so.
playing. So
Yeah, the
that was what
guys
I
that
was
are,
thinking.
Jake Wallman, those Achari, those Kevin Rooney, they won't be there because they have. I'm sure they have games. So,
Yeah, but
but
that'll
some of
be
the lesser lights.
yeah.
I'm looking forward to seeing Tommy Parisi, who the guy who dumped it in from center ice and went for a change and turned around and the puck was in the net.
That was
It's going to be great
legendary.
to see him.
That was incredible, and I agree. I think that's going to be a really fun time on Saturday for you. Do you have P Bruins on Sunday?
Sunday, I think I'm gonna go to Boston College. Just they're playing Merrimack, and it's at 1 o'clock. That's the key part. It's
Oh,
at 1 o'clock.
that
So
is perfect.
yeah,
Oh my
yeah,
god, that's as ideal as it gets. Those afternoon games on the weekend,
oh,
I love them. I
me
love
too.
them.
And Providence is
Um,
playing Bridgeport, who I've already seen 17 times,
I was gonna say you've
and
probably seen Bridgeport a lot.
don't need to
So
see. they're playing three straight. They're after tonight. Their next three games are against Bridgeport. It's like,
Oh my God.
come
It's like
on.
that. Remember the COVID year when you were at New England Sports Center
Yeah,
all the time and they were playing the same like three teams? So
right, right. It was Bridgeport, Hartford. I think that was it. Right, only three.
yeah, it was. It was just three
Springfield.
teams in Rink One.
Yep, yep. They still haven't changed the logo there. It's still there.
I was gonna say, when I was there in the fall, that was the P logo in the middle
Yeah.
was there. You know,
They
so
haven't painted the lines.
they have to return back for a game. You got to honor that. Like
Yeah.
Swayman's beginning of his career, you got to have like a
Yes.
Swayman night and do it in Rink One of New
Absolutely.
England Sports Center.
Absolutely.
I like that. But anyways, the Boston Bruins were in action. They've been in action quite a bit. Played Thursday night, big game against the Avs, 5-2 win. Everybody's talking about Pastrnak's hat trick, which we'll get to. But the big news: Jakub Lauko finally scores a goal. It's been long enough, long awaited. Monkey off the back. Your boy, he does it. He did it.
Well, another example of Jim Montgomery's genius. He's playing
The
he's
crystal
playing-
ball.
he's playing checkers, and everyone else is playing tiddlywinks. He he moves Lauko to the third line, and the game was not even 5 minutes old, and Lauko's got a goal. And if he had missed the net on that one, I don't know what to tell you, but he didn't. He had the whole net, and he put it in. So good for him. And then he played an energetic game the rest of the way. Throwing his body around, and he. I thought he might when Curtis McDermott threw that hit on Boquist, and a couple people I think players looked at him like, oh no, that's Curtis McDermott. I'm not going near that guy. And Lauko was smart enough to say, you know what, I'll let that one pass, because Curtis McDermott's a monster. And,
Oh my God.
nobody should be fighting that guy. So Lauko was smart to avoid that, as were the rest of the Bruins. But a very entertaining game.
Yeah, I always think like with Jakub Lauko, I'm not a Lord of the Rings guy, but I always imagine that he's just skating around the ice, like thinking of Lord of the Rings references to chirp at like other players, just running into guys. And again, I don't have any references. I've never seen Lord of the Rings. I'm not a Lord of the Rings guy. Maybe I'll have to get into it because Lauko's so into it. But I can just imagine him chirping guys with those references. But again, I texted you at the start of the game when the line combos came out.
Yeah.
And I said, I think I said something along the lines of, oh, he'll be down on the fourth line and not play in the third period by like the middle of the second period. We know this is going to happen. And then 5 minutes later, I was like, just kidding. Never mind. He scored a goal. So, yeah, I guess my intuition was not as good as Monty's on that move. But a big win. I mean, again, the Avalanche are nasty. McKinnon is on otherworldly. Makar's otherworldly. But Pastrnak continues to roll. This is 64 points, and I think it's like 40 something games. I've talked about him as an MVP candidate for a while. But to me, I think he's proved a lot of people wrong this year. I don't think anyone was saying he wouldn't produce, but a lot of people wondered, I think, oh, no Bergeron, no Krejci. He's had some rotating guys he's played with, and he still continues to just be, as productive as he's been in years past. And now he's such an underrated playmaker, I think, which is another element to his game.
Yeah, his game is just continues to improve, which you like to think that would happen with all players, but it rarely does. A lot of times guys hit a peak or a plateau, and that's it for them. But he continues to get better and better. Reading a quote from him this morning about how he himself said, I had a great first period, and then in the second period, not so great, not great at all. But then he got it together again for the third period, and I think it says a lot for him, as a player, that he can bounce back. He rolls with the punches very well.
Mm-hmm.
People are on him a little bit because of those overtime, miscues last week, and he just keeps going and going. And yeah, there's good periods, there's bad periods, but he just keeps rolling. And I think that mental approach of things just kind of rolling off him when it's not going so good is an important part of him as a player. He's just able to reset and start fresh and produce.
He has that about him on the ice, and I think that's something that has improved the last couple of years. I also think it's something that he needs more as he becomes a leader on this team. I mean, he has never had to be a leader, and now obviously with Bergeron and Krejci gone, he's going to become one of the guys. He's an assistant captain, and I think that he needs to kind of have that mentality. The team needs to have that mentality, especially after last year. Yeah. And this hits at a bigger point. And we'll discuss it in a second. But first, a quick word from our friends over at FanDuel.
The NFL season is wrapping up, but there is still time to get on the action with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets guaranteed when you place a $5 bet. That's $150 in bonus bets, win or lose. The app is so easy to use, and there are so many different ways to bet, like live same-game parlays, find bets in the new Explore tab, pick a parlay in the Parlay Hub, the best way to find popular parlays, and more. So visit FanDuel.com/Boston and make your first bet a layup. FanDuel, official partner of the NFL.
Bruins go out west. They lose those first 3 games. Overtime heartbreakers. You get the Pastrnak shootout attempt. You had the overtime miscue. And then they come back. They win the game in St. Louis at the end of the road trip. They beat New Jersey on Monday. I know they were injured, but that was still a hell of a 60-minute game. And then they beat Colorado on Thursday night. So they lose 3 straight. They win 3 straight. And a lot of people might say, oh, that's inconsistent. That's inconsistent play. But to me, what I see with that is last year they never had any adversity during the season. There was never, I don't think ever, a stretch where they lost 3 in a row. Unless I'm forgetting any stretch, but I don't think there was. And to be able to pull yourself out of that slump, and which was, again, heartbreaking in the sense that it wasn't like they were just getting blown out. They were right there in all those games, and just, bad luck in overtime and things like that, to kind of rebound and get 3 straight after. I think, to me, again, I think it's very encouraging when, for them as they enter into these last couple months before the playoffs. What do you think?
No, you're right. And, when you have a veteran team as the Bruins are, that, the ability to do that is part of, one of the advantages of having a lot of experience is guys know that, one particular night things didn't go our way, it was bad or whatever, but there's another one tomorrow, and, there's no reason why we can't be on top of our game then. So they've been able to do that. And, after the way last season ended, you might think you could think that there would be a little hangover psychologically. There hasn't been. Now maybe when the playoffs come, we'll see. But
it'll hit.
So far, there's been no hangover at all. They, you look at their record, and it's amazing how they've been able to, be so productive and so good without 2 top players who are, gone forever now, in terms of being in the lineup. So
are they gone forever, Mark? Are they gone forever? We'll get into that in a second.
Yeah.
Are they gone forever?
Well, I don't know. It's amazing how, you just shake your head at the record. It's, you can kind of wait. Is something bad going to happen? Are they going to hit a 5-game losing streak? Well, it doesn't look that way. And I think part of that goes back to goaltending. Night in and night out, it's just so good that they're in every single game because of the goaltending. So here we are.
It's funny, like going into the year or coming off last year, I think if they had brought the exact same team back, right, we would all probably say they're going to be motivated and they're going to, they're going to go deep. Like it's going to be like 2010 to 2011, right? They're going to find a way and they're going to use that as motivation. But because they entered the year without Bergeron, Krejci, Hall, Orlov, Bertuzzi, we all kind of went, well, I don't know. I think those guys will be motivated. But at the same time, I almost think it's been better because you have so many guys on this roster that have to prove themselves. Charlie Coyle, Trent Frederick, Pavel Zacha, Jeremy Swayman after the arbitration hearing, that, you have an added level of motivation. Yes, last season ended horribly, but you also have guys in that all along that roster who over the offseason people went, are they good enough to, step in the shoes of Bergeron, and can they make up scoring for guys like Bertuzzi and Hall? And they've done that. Charlie Coyle is playing the best hockey I've ever seen him play. Yeah. Zacha's been solid, and Frederick's been great. I mean, clearly last year wasn't a flash in the pan. He's still producing, and he's playing well. So, I think you have all these things that have contributed to their good first half, really, is that it's a new group, and I think that almost was better after coming off of last season.
Yeah, I don't think running the same group out there would have produced these kind of results after that crash and burn at the end. Some of those guys would be another year older, and I think the way, out of necessity, they've had to make changes, and I don't think you can quarrel with the results at this point.
That's the thing. I want to get to some more big stuff, but first, before we do that, a quick word from our friends over at HelloFresh. Quick break in the action to tell you about our delicious friends over at HelloFresh. With HelloFresh, you get farm-fresh, pre-portioned ingredients and seasonal recipes delivered right to your doorstep. Skip trips to the grocery store and count on HelloFresh to make home cooking easy, fun, and affordable. That's why it's America's #1 meal kit. A crazy schedule can make it easy to fall back into your dinner time recipe rut. But keep mealtime exciting with over 40 recipes to choose from every week. There's always something delicious to discover with HelloFresh. Turn to HelloFresh Market for yummy add-ons and enjoy the season's limited time fall flavors lineup. It's that time of year, right? Things get you in the mood, like apple cider cake with caramel sauce. All the ingredients come fresh, from the crushed tomatoes to the Italian chicken sausage mix to the Parmesan cheese. It's delicious, and I feel like a chef when I'm doing it. What's better than that? And this is a busy time of year for me with hockey starting up. I don't always have a ton of time, so this recipe makes it quick to enjoy something amazing. So join in on the fun. Go to HelloFresh.com/50Bruins and use code 50Bruins for 50% off plus free shipping. Again, go to HelloFresh.com/50Bruins and use code 50Bruins for 50% off plus free shipping. HelloFresh, America's #1 meal kit. Now, back to the show. We mentioned the older players on that team, and this week had a pretty damn good rumor. In terms of the rumor mill, this was a good one. The Spit and Chicklets guys come out earlier this week saying, Paul Bissonnette saying that he's hearing that Patrice Bergeron was thinking about coming back. He was training, he was skating, all that stuff. Maybe a comeback. So that got the wheels turning. That got the wheels going. And that, what's funny though? In mid-January, in the news cycle, it's what you need. You need that. For a podcast, a twice-a-week podcast, you need these kind of topics because you can't do trades every time. There are different topics you can do every now and again, but freshening it up. Little pepper, a little seasoning on the season. Yeah. I enjoy. But Steve Conroy ruined it. Steve Conroy just had to stick the knife right in the rumor.
Well, that didn't stop the afternoon show on the radio yesterday. At 2 hours after Conroy tweeted that, they were still going over it like it was going to happen. So
I like it. That's what I mean, though. It's like we're still going to discuss it, of course. I mean, we're not going to, But anyway, Steve Conroy texted Patrice Bergeron, and Bergeron replied, "I am not," in all caps, "not making a comeback." So I guess that kind of quashes it. But for 24 hours, I was sitting there like, I'll say this, and I know I'll get crushed for this by people. I don't think it would be wise for him to come back. And I know obviously he isn't. So, we're not even, he is not. But just in the hypothetical, do you want him back? And I know he's Patrice Bergeron and he adds a ton and this and that. But, if he comes back, I know Marchand would like him to come back, but Marchand is captain now. It's Marchand's time. Charlie Coyle's playing great as the #1 center. Zacha and other guys have filled in great behind him, and things are starting to gel. And I know it's a different position, but I remember when Rask came back a couple of years ago out of kind of semi-retirement, it just didn't work. It's hard to commit to a team mid-season and just start up again. And that's not like Bergeron. And I just think they're a different team now. And, I remember we said this back in the spring when you and I were, I think it was at the Mass Hockey Festival, we were kind of like, they need to face what life is going to be like after Bergeron. They need to face it. And to have him come back, I know, again, it's an addition. You could, you could put Zacha on the wing. Like, yes, it opens up options. But I want to see them without him in terms of you need to move on. And again, I know he's not coming back, so I guess I'm yelling into the wind here. But my whole thing for the couple hours that it could be, was a real rumor. I don't see it. They've moved on. What do you think?
No, I agree with you. And that rumor came my way a couple of weeks ago, and I'm not saying that the Chicklets guys they don't need to fish for clicks. Those guys they got enough. But so a very well connected, a very well known guy in the hockey world kind of whispered that one to me, and I was like, no, that's not happening, and I'm not doing anything with that. I'm not throwing that out there or anything like that. I'm just
think of the engagement. Think of the Think of the Twitter impressions, Mark.
But anyway, yeah, they've moved on, and they're doing well, and I don't think bringing him back is the thing to do. I agree with you. Not to mention, we're at the part of the season now, as it goes on, the pace gets faster and faster. To throw a 37-year-old man in there, whatever he is, with, a guy who, maybe has some concerns about his health and all of that, to throw him in there in the middle of this, I don't think that's the way to go at all, even if he wanted to do it. So I think they're going to have to sink or swim without Bergie. I think so. So be it.
That's the thing. I mean, again, I get the attract. I mean, yes, if he did return, the ovation would, you'd hear it outside on Causeway Street, 100%. But yeah. I don't know. I mean, again, we saw some of the cracks with him in the playoffs last year. He really did not have a great playoffs against the Panthers, and he came in mid-series, and it wasn't his fault. But again, he's just getting older. And that's the deal with it. And his body has been through a lot. I mean, that's why he retired before. He retired at basically 37 years old because he'd been in the league since 2003. Yeah. So again, I mean, I just. It's a fun idea. It's a fun thing to talk about and kick around, but they've moved on. And I think it's time for this organization to move on in terms of you got to face, the music. And it's worked out. Coyle has stepped up. And Patra, you have something with Matt Patra. So, again, they've been fortunate in that sense. But bringing him back, again, I just think mid-season too. I guess it'd be fully healthy, but you got to get back into shape. You got to get back into game shape. And the pace of an NHL game, and I know it's only been a couple months, but a couple months make a lot of difference when you're 37 years old. Yeah. I don't think Bergeron's return will be happening, as Bergeron himself said. By the way, why can't the guy skate? I know the Spit and Chicklets were like, he's not training for the alumni game, but I just think he wants to train. He probably wants to just get out there and skate. Who doesn't?
Why not? Yeah.
Why not? I think he's coaching his young son's team, or he's out there on the ice with them. So soon enough, Mark, you and I are going to be at a junior Eagles U14 game, and we're going to be like, Patrice Bergeron's the coach of this team? So, hey, Brian Leach was the coach of the 18 Eagles this year, and he was the coach of the Eagles for a long time. So, right. We deal with that all the time. Anyways, someone who is not going anywhere, Jeremy Swayman, has played the last 4 games. Long stretch for a Bruins goalie. He's done great. Played well. Even in that, I think it was the Vegas loss before the Arizona one. I think that was the Pastrnak overtime gaff game. He was outstanding. He's been great of late. Seems like, again, it's a short sample size, but the more I watch him play and the more I see him in action, the more I think, I think he could be the guy. And it doesn't mean, starting way more games than Olmark, but it wouldn't surprise me if down the stretch here he got definitely more games than Linus Olmark.
Yeah, and I think Olmark's health now is a question.
Yes.
The fact that he was able to even dress for last night's game after the way they carted him off the ice there not that long ago was kind of amazing. And I wonder if that injury was that this. I suspect it was the same thing that was ailing him in the playoffs last year. Whatever we don't really know what the hell that was.
Yeah, they never said. He never even said it.
No, but I suspect it was something to do with his hips, his groins, that area, the mid body. But yeah, Sway, and the arbitration talk last week where he talked about, as if he didn't, he chose arbitration, and he was
I know
seemingly blaming Bruins management for taking him to arbitration.
How dare you, Don Sweeney? How dare you?
Yeah. Well, I think that that kind of is things like that are factors that drive players, I think, and I think Sway is one of those guys. Something like that stokes the fire and gets him going, and you see good results from it. Which we have the last few games. I thought a couple of the two goals last night were, a little bit leaky on his part, but he shut the door after two, and that was it. So whatever it takes for him to get the fire going, is fine with me, and should probably be fine with most of the fans.
Yeah, it's interesting with Olmark and that injury though, because I don't want him coming back too fast.
Yeah,
because if it starts lingering, that's why I do want to see Swayman get the bulk of reps over these next 2 weeks. If Olmark has to come in for a game or two, fine. But I have no desire to rush him back and get the tandem going immediately, because I would want them both healthy come later in the season. Now, I think Swayman has definitely played his way into being the game one starter, at least as of right now. I mean, I know that there's a lot that can happen over the next couple of months, as we know. But, I think Swayman has, being an all-star and just the better numbers and the better play, and he's gotten the better games. Last year, Olmark was getting a lot of those hard games. I feel like Swayman's been that guy this year. So, to me, as of right now, I would start Swayman game one and rotate, but, go with the hot guy for a game or two in the playoffs. I know I'm going everywhere with the goaltending, but it's hard not to right now.
I'd agree as far as the game one starter. I also, to deviate a little bit in terms of Olmark Swayman, I was a little surprised that Brandon Bussey didn't get a game when they called him up. When Olmark went down, just to give this guy, let him get his feet wet, see how he does, one game doesn't really tell you all that much, but get the kid in there, see what you have a little bit, and then go from there. Nobody's expecting him to contribute in Boston this year, certainly at all. And as long as there's good health with Swayman and Olmark, but I don't think one game for him would have hurt anyone. So.
No, I agree. And it's also a reward, right? Guy plays well in Providence, Merck, you get him up here, you play him 5 minutes, and you say, but no, I do think Bussey deserved a game. And I mean, do you think there's a lot of talk, I know Conor Ryan and I talked a lot about it earlier this week, with Swayman's next contract, it's going to be expensive. He's not going to take a hometown discount. Can Bussey come in next year if they trade Swayman and they don't sign a veteran backup who can play 30 to 35 games? Can Bussey come in and play 30 to 35 games in the NHL? Can he?
Well, we won't really know until he actually does.
Yeah, that's true.
So, but I mean, he's as good a goaltending prospect as I've seen, in the American League in quite a while. That doesn't always translate, though. About 10 years ago, Providence had the best goalie in the American League, in Nicholas Svedberg, who you may remember.
Yes,
He
I
was
do remember
absolutely
Svedberg.
lights out in the American League, and he couldn't cut it in the National League. He got a chance in Boston, and the results weren't. He was mediocre, and now he's in the KHL. I think he's an all-star over there, but
Oh,
for whatever reason, it didn't translate in the NHL for him. So you never know until the guy actually does it. But I'm confident that Bussy's a National League goaltender. At some point, as soon as next year, maybe. After assuming he finishes the season in the American League this year, I don't know what he has to prove in a third season in the American League. I don't I don't know I don't know why you do that. So we may be seeing that next year, depending on what happens. The other thing is, there's teams all over the league looking for goalies. Is he tradable? Unproven goalies from the American League. I don't know. I don't know if I'd go out of my way to make a trade for him if I were a team, an up and coming team. But as part of a deal for maybe something, who knows what the deal might comprise. But maybe he's trade bait. I don't know. I don't know what their plans are for goalies.
well, that's it.
They've had 3 in Providence for most of the year. It's been kind of, I don't want to say bizarre, but 3 goalies doesn't really work. But that somehow, one guy hasn't played hardly at all, but it's been awkward, to have 3, even just in practice. It's awkward.
It is, and that's an interesting take though, because I think a lot of people look at, trading Swayman, trading Olmark, and I think when the offseason comes around, given the salary cap situations and just contracts, I think you probably have to at least heavily consider it. With what Swayman's going to make, and you think, Bussy would come right back in. But you're right. I mean, Bussy could be a trade asset, whether it's because you could again, if you traded Bussy at the deadline, let's say, and got something for him, or even traded him in the offseason, right, and you trade Olmark, you can still go out and sign a veteran backup. You can sign a guy that can, go in there and be solid. I mean, I want to see Bussy as an NHL backup with the Bruins. I'd love to see what it's like, because, again, maybe you build his value even more, because ideally, Swayman is the starter for the next, 5, 7, 10 years. But again, I think you'd like to see what Bussy's like behind Swayman, at least in the NHL, to maybe see what the trade value is. But I agree, see what he might get. Was Zane McIntyre another one that that lit up the American League, or am I thinking that he lit up college and didn't really live up to it?
Well, he lit up college. He had some great moments in the American League, but he didn't. He wasn't as good as Svedberg or Bussy, but at times he was very good. And then in the NHL it didn't translate. So that's you never know. Like I said, you never know until the guy actually gets there and gives it a try. So
they threw him into a MSG game, right? That was what Claude did. They threw McIntyre against the Rangers.
Yeah, another one, speaking of Claude throwing him in there, there was a game in St. Louis where Malcolm Subban came up.
Yep.
And they threw him to the dogs in that
one.
one.
He was out mid-game, right? They pulled him.
And it was like, geez, they really didn't treat that guy the right way that night.
No. Against that St. Louis team, because that was like what? Was that like 2016-ish? Like that St. Louis team was good.
Yeah.
And they chucked him in there and, got lit up. And then that was it. I mean, Subban, though, he's with the Thunderbirds now, right?
I see him play all the time for Springfield, and he's a very good American Hockey League goalie and a fantastic kid. But I don't think I don't know. Maybe he wouldn't have made it anyway. I guess you could say that he wouldn't have, given what's happened since then. But boy, they treated him badly that night in St. Louis. Badly.
Yeah, I remember being a kid watching that and being like, "You're putting him against that team in this in the spot." But anyways, Mark, always a fun time. Always a pleasure. Is there anything you're working on that the people should be looking out for?
Not really. No, just kind of biding my time here. Looking forward to the Bean Pot and the NCAA tournament after that, Hockey East before that. But in Providence, they are rolling right now. They're 8-1-1 in their 8-1-1 their last 10. Fabian Lysell scored a nice goal the other day. The fan base again is calling for him to if Pastrnak has a bad shift, they should bench him and
trade him. Don't just bench him. Trade him. I mean, come on.
There. And he's not to go on forever here, but I haven't seen him try to go 1-on-4 or 1-on-5 in like at least 3 games. So
that's good.
Progress. Yeah, there's progress. So the arrow's pointing up on him, and they've got some solid depth players if they need him down in the American League. So things are looking up for Providence and for Boston.
That's good. That's good. I will plug something for you. You have a Jaden Struble story coming in our next magazine for New England Hockey Journal. It's really strong. You talked to Kent Hughes, talked to Jerry Keefe. Jaden Struble's been lighting it up with the Montreal Canadiens, and that'll be run. I mean, it's in the magazine. I think the magazine's going to drop Friday, or it'll drop Saturday, one of the 2 days, and that's going to be a story in it. So that'll be online soon, and it's a good story. Really good story. You did a good job on it. So
thank you.
People can look out for that when that's out. And yeah, that's that. That's Mark Divver. I'm Evan Marinofsky. Your Bruins Beat listeners. Have a great rest of your week.